Hey there gardeners, Chris here from Garden Steading. I wanted to show you my little art installation slash tree protector, depending on which way you look at it. Obviously, if you're a government handing out arts grants willy-nilly, it's definitely an arts installation. I'll take 50K for it, no problem at all. It's probably too useful, too recycled and too real world to ever get an arts grant. So, you know, we'll let it go on that one. But it has done the job that I needed it to do. So in the middle here, we have our starfruit tree, and that is probably another reason why it wouldn't get an arts grant. It's not an Australian native tree, but we're trying to plant productive trees in our fruit forest, because what we want to do is lower our reliance on having to buy groceries and buy fresh fruit and vegetables, which would be awesome. But to be honest, we're probably 5 or 10 years away from kind of getting to the point where we grow everything ourselves. The starfruit tree itself, this part of the garden is quite exposed, and so obviously the fruit forest needs to be a forest. And one of the mistakes I made before I kind of did more research and found out about guilds was that essentially I planted most of my fruit trees standalone, and so they don't have the protection of accompanying plants, which is an issue. I'll give you an example of where I tried to do it a bit more properly, and ironically, we got a very different outcome, and probably not the one you're thinking. So what I've got here is I've got some concrete mesh that I bent into a V. I've stood it up, I've put a proper picket over the back there. I've got a little plastic picket in here, and then I've just got some basically second-hand shade cloth, which provides the shade for the tree. And it's all the way around because being summer, or it was summer, the sun was coming up over there and then it was setting, like it's there now, but it was setting over there. And this was in full sunlight for like 14 hours a day, which is way too much. And that starfruit was really, really struggling. Now, it's much, much healthier than it was, but it's still not super happy because we just haven't had a lot of rain. And so as a result, it's going better than it would otherwise, and we've kept it alive, which is the big thing, because obviously fruit trees tend to be expensive. You don't want to be losing them, and this will have gotten us through summer. I'm going to remove it in a month. Hopefully it is cooler and wetter, and that will give that tree a good opportunity to kind of gather itself in the off season, and then maybe we'll need to put it back next season, next summer, if we haven't built that surrounding ecosystem. And we've kind of got the space mapped out for various things, and the fruit forest is going to be like through here and all the way across there behind the camera. However, like I said, we really need to build it up into a forest. It can't just be standalone trees, which it is now, and that's probably why none of them are doing super well. So yeah, it's a little bit of an eyesore, and I will admit, if you're in the city and you've got a small front yard and it's in full view of all your neighbours, you're probably not going to do this because your missus would kill you. However, for me, on a rural property where no one can really see this, except visitors who have to be nice to me, I could do this and I could get away with it. And to be honest, I'd do it in the city anyway, and I just cop the flack because, yeah, sometimes you got to make some sacrifices, and it can be other people's eyeballs. And yeah, if it works, it works. You've done a good job. Now, I had heard about protecting trees from the ravishes of the sun and the elements, because you will notice if you're planting trees, some trees do like to be protected from the wind. So that's quite an important one, and it's a bit of a harder one because not everyone has sheltered positions. And obviously the sun, not getting too much sun, especially here in Australia where it's pretty darn hot, is another one. And so we tried to do that with our avocado, and actually we tried to double up, and I'll show you. So what do we have here? Well, this should be, and I'm actually looking at it now and I'm pretty sure, I know what I thought I was planting was 3 acacias, because acacias are meant to be like a good pioneer system, and the advice I got from the fruit tree fella was, if you're planting an avocado, plant a couple of acacias around it. They will provide protection for it, and then when it's kind of into its well-established time of the season, I guess it's an age span and time of the season thing, and when it's got fruit on it, you will chop these down, not permanently, you'll just kind of chop and drop, and you'll get the sun onto your avocado, which is important for fruiting, and you get this really good kind of, again, like an ecosystem where these trees are going to protect your avocado a lot of the time, and then when you want the avocado to get more sunlight, you will just chop them down a little bit, not totally, and you get the best of both worlds. And obviously also they provide cover and stuff like that. Now this one here is looking quite good. It's got flowers on it. The one behind me has been absolutely ravaged by some kind of pest. It does not have a leaf anywhere on it that I can see. And to be honest, the little ones we planted down at the ground, one of those has died recently as well. And it has been really, really hot. And we've kind of got them around our avocado here, and it's gone quite well in these growing. But we have a little bit of a problem. I'll also note, what we also have here is what used to be a dog containment cage, I guess you'd call it. Now it doesn't have the mesh on it that would keep a dog in, but I put it together. I got it free because someone was throwing it out. I got it and I put a shade cloth over it, and it is actually picketed into the ground so it doesn't fly away. Not that I think that's that much of a concern with such a small piece of shade cloth on it, and that was again to protect our avocado tree because I think it was just a bit too hot there. So let's have a look at the avocado tree itself because that's what it's all about. So avocado tree, very, very dead. Very, very dead. We've actually got, by the looks of it, white ants through the tree itself, or some kind of wood-eating ant, which is a little bit on the disappointing side. And that has just popped straight out. And this was quite disappointing because what I did is I mounded it to get it up out of the ground so that if it was really, really wet, the avocado wouldn't die, because that is a big issue. They don't like really wet feet. I even put in some of our biochar that we'd made ourselves, and that hasn't seemed to have helped it at all. I will say that I think we do have a lot of termites here, but I don't imagine that would have been such a big concern for a living tree. I wouldn't have thought, but maybe it is. And obviously that really died off and it was not looking good. And I have to admit, we didn't water it heavily, so maybe it's just on me and that we didn't water it enough, that maybe it was just too dry here, and instead of having the issue where they drown with wet feet, maybe we had the opposite. And it is pretty unrelenting in our garden, and I only put the cover over the avocado more recently when it was already looking kind of dead. And when it really died off, I chopped it all back, and yeah, basically, as you can see here, it's no good at all. So you can do kind of the recommended kind of planting techniques, and maybe those acacias should have been a bit closer, like right in on our avocado, so it was a really nice tight ecosystem. That's, you know, possibly an issue, but what we tried didn't work at all. But I could also move this shade to a tree that needs it a little bit more, because a lot of things are quite affected by the sheer amount of sunlight in this part of the garden, which is something I'm really going to work on next summer or before next summer, so that when next summer rolls around, everything's kind of planted out a little bit more heavily, because stuff like our pomegranates have just suffered in the sun. And I mean, they're as basically as harsh and survivable as things come, and even they really, really have struggled. So lots and lots and lots to learn, but we'll get there in the end. This is another example of a tree which I really let down by not thinking about the summer season, I guess you'd say, because during the rest of the season it was okay, but in summer it was too exposed here, it was too hot here. I've allowed the grass to go right up around this tree. If you don't know what it is, it's a jaboticaba, and these are a really, really cool tree because they have these round fruit that grow on the actual limbs of the tree and the trunk of the tree itself. It looks like something that's been created by AI. However, really cool fruit. It's, I would say, I think where I've seen it growing, it's a little bit more protected. And so that's what I should have done. And it is still alive. It's going okay-ish, but we moved this little seeding kind of assembly around it so that when there was that really, really hot sun, it was just a little bit more shaded, and that little bit of shade certainly helped it, but it is looking quite sad. And you might be asking yourself, well, why haven't you got rid of all this grass to give it a bit more breathing room and stuff like that? And the simple answer is we get quite heavy dew and the grass really collects it and certainly sends it down into the soil. And I think it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. If you just remove all the grass around some of the plants, they really struggle, because even though the grass is probably competing with them for nutrients, it's also providing protection from the sun, from the wind. It's helping collect a little bit of moisture in there as well, even though it's probably using most of it. And it's probably not the best idea to do the kind of automatic response of just simply tearing everything out around that plant and thinking you're doing a really good thing, because sometimes that's going to be super detrimental. And I'll give you a couple of examples where I've got the grass growing up really way too much at the moment, but until we get into that cooler weather, I'm not taking it out. It's just not worth the risk, because also when the grass grows up high, when you trim it down, you don't end up with that nice lawn. You end up with most of the ground just visible. So again, it's almost a double whammy. You get rid of the grass if you haven't controlled it down nice and low, and you've just exposed the ground to that sun, and it's going to lose a lot more water, and the plant's no doubt going to struggle 10 times more. Now, to be fair, at the moment, most of my fruit forest is probably a case in point of me not removing the grass because I feel like it's protecting those trees somewhat. And here we've got one of our little plums, which went quite well through the summer. Like, this was not really protected at all. It wasn't getting any additional water. It just had to survive. But with this nice amount of quite deep grass around it, it went really, really well. And I should note the reason the grass got this tall was because I had a tree surround around it, because at one point the wallabies were having a nibble on it. Now, they've stopped doing that for the moment for whatever reason, but the tree surround is gone and we're still left with this quite deep grass, which some of it in particular I should really be on top of making sure it doesn't get these seed heads, because then we get, yeah, this pretty awful, I don't know if this is, I don't think it's the grass I'm thinking of that's really bad, pigeon grass, but it's, again, it's another one that we don't really want growing here unless it's our lawn. So the lawn, even though it is in many people's minds a weed and it can encroach on your gardens and be really, really annoying, it can also be quite good at keeping other plants alive and helping provide a bit of protection for them. And obviously it's always a bit of a judgment game that you've got to work out what's the case for your situation. If I was able to just pump water into the whole garden and had no concern about that at all, then I wouldn't need the grass. But I don't water here at all, essentially, and I probably do.